So, here it is. I was very impressed with Russo. He is intelligent, he stays on topic, and with very little prompting, as you'll see. He tells you what you need to know. I thought it'd be more of a discussion, but I am in no way disappointed with how it turned out. I actually found myself sitting back and listening attentively, because after seeing the movie myself, I realized he was adding to it in this conversation. I also cut out a lot of my rambling. I do enough talking on this channel already. I was originally going to use clips from the movie for visuals, but after editing the audio for continuity purposes, and Aaron, you're going to be surprised with this. I did it pretty good. You're going to like it. I just think it's best if you sit back, put on some headphones, and listen. Just as I've done about 80 times now. But, you know, that editing is no joke. There's no fancy intro, only the obligatory thumbnail image to get attention. Everyone needs to hear this and see the movie. I will make another version that adds in about 20 minutes of extra audio and has parts of the movie and various other things for visuals, I think, to be posted on my website after I restructure it, so, you know, it'll be a while. I haven't updated my website in like a month, if anybody's noticed that. It's just kind of sitting there wasting my money. But it will be restructured to reflect the organization I am working on starting, as well as the 26th of July media content, such as this interview. So what you're about to hear is more than what's in the movie. You can see into the mind that created it. I talked with Russo for a while after the interview, and we shared some thoughts. And one was that I'll be actually, as an announcement here, I'll be posting the movie in its entirety on this channel, the 26th of July. So that's an addition to this interview. He'll be sending me a copy that, provided I get past all the technical issues, I'll get below 100 megabytes and put it right here too, you know, so a lot of people are going to be able to see it, and we talk about various ways you can go see it for free elsewhere. So when I mentioned in the original announcement that it wasn't about money necessarily, I meant that the interview isn't about money. We're not trying to make money, but the movie is about money. Aha! The audio is about 50 minutes long, so let me make a little suggestion. Split it up a bit if you have to. Watch a little now, pause it, write down the time you stopped it, and come back, unless you find yourself glued to it as I did. I'm excited to know there are people like him out there. I'm especially excited about the prospect that each and every one of them can work together. After getting involved in these matters myself, I realized a critical problem with this movement. You've got Russo over there, you got Alex Jones over here, you've got Oberman doing his thing. There needs to be a better line of communication. I don't plan on signing on with any particular movement, you know, that's currently out there, but I plan on helping each of them because they fight a just cause. I want to share what I've created here because information is free, and I will do anything to get it to you. So today, I am sharing my channel with Aaron Russo, the writer and director of America, Freedom to Fascism. One more thing. Ignore the fact that you can hear me breathing kind of funny the whole time. If you listen carefully, I had a cold and my nose was a little stopped up. First, I'm going to ask, who is Aaron Russo? Tell a little bit about your background for all of our listeners.
Okay, well, I've been kind of a person who's had a very varied career. You know, I don't like doing the same thing day in and day out for my whole life. So I've done a lot of different things in my life. I started out in the ladies' lingerie business, and I developed some fame there in developing the first ladies' bikini underwear.
That was you?
That was me, babe.
All right.
That's all they wear today, right? And so I did that back when I was like 21 years old, and became the biggest deal in the ladies' underwear business. And I did that when I was working for my dad. He had a small garment business. And then I went to work at a nightclub. I was always interested in music, and I went to work at a nightclub. I didn't like working for my dad. And I went to work there, and I opened up my own nightclub in Chicago. And one of the first things I did, this was during the late 60s, and I used to bring in, you know, bands like the Grateful Dead, and I was the first one to ever bring Led Zeppelin to America. I brought them here for the first time. and I used to put on shows with Jefferson Airplane, and every top band in the world basically played for me when I was in the rock and roll business, and I did that. And then
let me go back for just a second. I am a super Led Zeppelin fan, so let me thank you.
Oh, sure, my player. Well, what happened was I had this manager named Peter Grant, who was a big guy. He was about 350, 400 pounds, and he was quite the character. And he was handling a guitarist named Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
And Rod Stewart was singing the vocals for it at the time. And Jeff Beck and Rod Stewart were playing at my club, and Peter came in and said, "Aaron, I had this new band. You got to hear their first record." And back then it was on what was called an acetate. It was a 33 1/3 spinning record, but it was on an acetate, meaning you couldn't play it very much. It was a demo. And he played it for me, and I went crazy. I said, "Oh my God, these guys are brilliant." And I said to Peter, "I'll bring them into America." And so I helped him arrange his first tour here. I went from that, and then I ran into a woman named Bette Midler, and I saw tremendous potential in her. She was an amazing artist, and I started managing her. And she became, as soon as I started managing her, I got very lucky, and she got lucky. I guess we had a great synergy together, and she just took off like a rocket ship, and her career just skyrocketed. And she became very famous very quickly. Had the cover of Time magazine and Newsweek magazine, and and so that was great fun, and I loved her very, very much. Then I made Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, because Bette and I split up, and then I made a movie called Teachers with Nick Nolte and Morgan Freeman and Ralph Macchio.
Morgan Freeman, awesome guy.
Yeah, Morgan's great, and Laura Dern. It was a very good movie. Did very, very well. And I've had a very interesting career. And then
it really sounds like it.
I guess after the movie business, I started getting involved. I got pretty fed up with what was happening in the country in many ways, and I moved to Tahiti for a while. Lived in Tahiti with my family, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back and traveled the country with my family in a van, sleeping out and camping out and homeschooling them in the van rather. And that was great fun, and raising the children. And
learning America.
Yeah, I had camped out and went up to Lake Louise in the Canadian Rockies, and took a house in Vermont for a while. Lived in this big giant pond in the backyard. I had a very varied and interesting life. And then I decided to get involved in politics, and I ran for governor in Nevada in '98.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, I came in second in a four-way race. They said I wouldn't get 1% of the vote. I ended up almost 30%. And now my objective is to really restore America to where the individual is reigns supreme again, because right now the government is dictating to us how we live our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what America is about. America is about the individual, and the government is supposed to be our servant. But everything's been perverted, and now it's the other way around. We're now the servants of the government, and they dictate to us how we live. And we're becoming very much a totalitarian police state in this country. They've just taken away the right of habeas corpus from us. And so I decided to make this movie, America, Freedom to Fascism, and explain to people how America is changing, and who's behind the change, and where it's coming from, and why we as a people have to oppose it and stop it. Otherwise, we're going to be nothing but serfs and slaves to a bunch of elites, and I don't want to see that happen. And I'm not going to live my life that way. I'm not going to carry an ID card. I'm not going to put a chip in me, and I don't think anybody should. And I think people better wake up to what's really happening in America, and that's why I made this movie, to alert people to the truth. And I just posted it on Google, so everybody can watch it for free if they want to. They can order the DVD. We have it on my website, and we also have it. We're going to have it on pay-per-view on my website in a higher quality resolution. So you can watch it for free on Google if you want to. If you want to watch it in higher resolution, you can watch it on pay-per-view on the website for $5. Or you can go get the DVD and have house parties and start showing it to people about what the IRS is doing and how there is no law that makes you pay an income tax on your labor. It's a total farce, and it's a fraud. There is no such law, and the Supreme Court has ruled that on many occasions. and they do it because they have all the guns and they force you to pay this tax on your labor. Well, we can get into all of that if you wish to, and how it works and why, and how we've turned into a police state in this country and how it's come to pass.
Well, we'll definitely get to that. I got an interesting quote that was sent to me probably 5 minutes ago by Toby, who set all this up. I know of no safe depository of the ultimate powers of the society but with the people themselves, and if we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them, but to inform them.
Exactly.
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson, exactly. He's right. People have to be informed, and that's why I made this movie. They have to understand what their rights are. They have rights because they're born. They're human beings. They have God-given rights as humans. You know, everybody believes that America is supposed to be a democracy. They've put that into our brains every day. We're fighting for democracy. You know, America's the greatest democracy that's ever been. Well, the truth be known, America was never supposed to be a democracy, and in actuality, democracy is one of the worst forms of government there is, because in a democracy, 51% of the people control 49%.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're part of the 49%, you're not a free person. You know, the majority doesn't rule your life. That's called tyranny of the majority.
Yes.
America was founded as a constitutional republic, not as a democracy. And in the Constitution, the word democracy is not written into the Constitution one time. It's not in the Bill of Rights one time. It's not in the Declaration of Independence one time. The Founding Fathers, who were brilliant men, hated the idea of a democracy, hated it, because they said if 51% control 49%, that's like two wolves and a hen voting about who they're going to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? It's in America, you have rights because you were born. You have God-given human rights. And in a constitutional republic, 99% of the people can't take away the rights of 1%. You have your rights because you were born. And it's not up to the government to give you a privilege. It's not up to the majority to say you can do this or you can't do that. As long as you don't commit violence against other people, as long as you don't commit fraud or thievery, steal from other people, you can do what you want with your own life. It's up to you. It's your life and you make your own choices.
Yeah.
It's not to the government to tell you. It's not to the majority to tell you how you live your life. It's your own decision, because we each own our own life. I own me. You own you. And the government doesn't own any of us.
Mm-hmm.
And because we own our lives, that means we own our labor. See, our labor is private property to us. Each one of us owns our own labor.
Mm-hmm.
And because we own our labor, if we work for somebody and we give them our labor, we're giving them something we own. You see, and if they give you dollars in return, they're giving you something they own. And it's an exchange. It's an agreed-upon exchange between two people. You see, and it's not taxable.
Yeah.
Because there's no gain, there's no profit. It's an exchange. The Supreme Court ruled that the word income, just the very word income, is defined as a corporate gain, a corporate profit. Not wages, not labor. So
that's one of the questions that I came up with right after watching the movie. It seems like the corporations take advantage of the supposed law by taxes, by taxing its employees rather than paying it themselves. So who's at fault, the corporations or the IRS?
Well, that's why it's fascism. Fascism means big corporations and big government working together to stifle and suppress the people. When you pay your tax on your labor, that's fascism, because it's the corporations who are supposed to pay the tax based on their profits, not you based on your labor. You own your labor. They can't tax that. You understand? But because the governments and the corporations work together, they tax you instead of the corporations. Last year, people paid something like $950 billion out of their labor to taxes, whereas the corporations only pay 200 and some odd billion. Okay? And
obscene.
And it's obscene. Yeah, the whole thing is a joke. It's wrong. But it's part of the fascism of what's happening to America. They take advantage of the people's lack of knowledge, lack of understanding. But then when I tell that to people, then they say to me, well, Aaron, then where's the money going to come from to run the government? And then I have to explain to them that none of the money you pay in taxes, not one penny of it, goes to help the infrastructure of this company.
You speak of the income tax in particular, because everything else is taxed.
Yeah, I'm speaking of the income tax on your labor primarily.
Right.
That's not only actually. None of the money you pay on the income tax on your labor goes to run the government, goes for the infrastructure of this country, or the services you expect from the government. It all goes to pay interest to the banks, and it all goes to waste. Corporations are taxed properly. The amount of money they'd be taxing. See, like people say, well, how are you going to have highways if you don't have the income tax on your labor? Well, the tax on gasoline pays for highways, not your income tax. How are you going to have
and that's a state tax.
Right, and how you can have, well, it's a federal tax. There's a federal tax on gasoline as well as a state tax.
Right, okay.
The federal tax pays for the highways. How you pay for schools? By local property taxes. Your taxes don't pay for schools, your income tax. Your income taxes on your labor go to pay the bankers, and it goes to pay the waste. You see, what happened was, in 1913, when the Federal Reserve System came into being, see, up until 1913, the government could print its own money. And there was no interest on it, because the government had the legal authority to print the money. And so there's no interest to pay. But in 1913, the government made a decision, because they were bribed, the people in Congress were bribed, to allow the banks to make the money for America instead of the government. And because the banks were making the money for America, when the government needed money, they had to borrow from the bankers. And because they were borrowing from the banks, they had to pay them interest. And because they were paying the bankers interest, they decided to put a tax on your labor to pay the interest to the banks. So your labor went to give the banks more profits. You see, that was the whole fraud. But it's actually worse than that, because now that the banks make the money for America, you understand, they control the government. Because they make all the money. They decide who gets what. The biggest corporation in the world is the Federal Reserve System, because they make the money, and all the other corporations feed off the nipple of the Federal Reserve System. See, they're the ones that make money out of thin air. When you go to the bank, let's say you want to open up a business, and you want to borrow $50,000 or $1 million or whatever the number may be, $10,000. Doesn't matter what the number is. You go to the bank, and you fill out these loan forms, and you're hoping and praying this loan officer will give you the money you want, right? Okay, now, all of a sudden he approves the loan, and all of a sudden in your bank account, there's $10,000 or $50,000 or $1 million. Where did that money come from? Most people think it came from other people's deposits. No. They made it out of thin air. They just created it.
It's electronic.
Right, it's electronic money, digits. They made it out of thin air, and all of a sudden it's in your bank account. And these guys can make the money out of nothing because the government gives them that permission. All right? So now these guys make the money out of nothing, but you have to give them your labor and pay them back the principal and the interest for something that cost them nothing to make. You see, it's not the government doing this, it's these private banking interests doing this. Right? So you have to give them everything you own in your life. So you work for years with your sweat to give them back something that they made in an instant. It's serfdom, is what it is. And so they control the government in the same way. These bankers want a world without borders. Yeah. See, all the banks of the world control their governments. Well, here's what you have to understand. Money today is made by central banks. Central banking is one of the major planks of the Communist Manifesto. Okay? So is the graduated income tax. Okay? So America, what they say, is a capitalist country. Two of its major things are both right out of the Communist Manifesto. Okay? And we're heading to a communist world government is what's happening here. Once you understand what the ultimate goal is, and I was friends with one of the Rockefellers, and we used to talk about this all the time, what they're trying to achieve is a one world government without borders, where the bankers control the governments of the world, you see, and where they want to have everybody in the world chipped with a microchip, a computer RFID chip, which stands for radio frequency identification. Right, so they can track you wherever you go. They can follow you, and all the information about you is on that chip in your hand. And all money will be on that chip. There'll be no more cash. It's called a cashless society. And all money will be nothing but those digits that they make. Okay? And whenever you buy something, you're going to put your hand underneath a machine reader. Right? And what happens is, let's say you decide you want to protest something that's going on. All they do is turn off your chip, and you can't buy food, you can't pay your mortgage, you can't do anything. See, So their goal is to have everybody chipped with this RFID chip, which is happening now, by the way, and that's part of what the law that Bush signed is that by May 2008, everybody has to have a national identification card, which is going to come in your driver's license, which will have a chip on it as well. Okay, that's the next step before they implant everybody, even though they're starting to implant people already. We have a clip in the movie where you see Senator Biden talking to the Supreme Court justice saying, you're going to have to decide whether we can implant people with these chips and track them wherever they go. That's right in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so, once you understand what the ambition is, the goal of chipping everybody in a cashless society, you understand that, but if that actually happens, that will all be nothing but slaves. They'll track us wherever we go. They'll take whatever money they want out of your chips whenever they want to, and you'll have nothing to say about your own life. They'll decide everything for you. You'll become a robot, essentially. They'll control your labor. They can control your life. And I'm saying you better wake up and not let that happen. And the only way to stop that is to have civil disobedience. To do what Martin Luther King did, to do what Gandhi did, to do what our founding fathers did, and not allow the individual to be controlled by big institutions.
Nonviolent, non-participation.
Exactly. And because what the government tries to do is to get your cooperation with everything. Once you stop cooperating, they have nothing. I'm not going to accept that card. I hope nobody accepts that card. Everybody listening to this, do not accept the national ID card, even if it's in your driver's license. Because that's the next step before they implant everybody. You must understand that. Do not accept that chip. Stop cooperating with them. Refuse to cooperate. That's the only way you're going to win. And if everybody joins together to stop the cooperation, we're going to win the game. Because this world is about us, the individuals. It's not about big government and big institutions telling us how we have to live our lives. And the only way to win the game is to shut down the Federal Reserve System. Because these people live in a world today where the Federal Reserve System has all this respectability. Because that's what the media does. They give them respect, right? But the truth is, these are the most evil people on the face of the earth. And they have to be stopped.
The Human Resources Department, in other words.
In a sense, yes, exactly. And they have to be stopped. And the only way to stop them is to shut down. First of all, the Federal Reserve System is illegal. It's unconstitutional. It's totally illegal. The government has to go back and start making the money, not these private banks. So as long as the banks make the money, they're going to control the government, and they're going to control us. And we're headed into a fate of slavery, and it must be stopped. And so I made the movie to make people understand in detail how this is happening, how they work the money system, how the income tax works, why there's no law that requires you to pay a tax on your labor, how the Supreme Court has ruled that on many occasions. I have an interview in my movie with the IRS commissioner, and he's telling me that the 16th Amendment to the Constitution allows them to tax the labor of the people. And I said, well, what about all the Supreme Court decisions? That's not the case, right? And you know what he said to me? He said to me, Supreme Court decisions do not apply to the IRS. Well, if you saw the movie, you saw that.
Yeah, I saw it, and I was like, wow, what a great guy.
Right? I mean, it's ridiculous. They're above the Supreme Court now.
It's like you realize you're on camera, right?
Exactly. I put him into a corner. He had nowhere to go. He was trapped. You see, he had no answer to the question other than that. And so people must wake up and realize you own your labor, you own your life, live the life you want to live. Be the individual you choose to be. Don't become a robot and a slave to the government and to these bankers, because that's what they're trying to accomplish. And you better wake up. Go to my website, freedomtofascism.com, and go see some of the clips from the movie.
Yeah, I'll be posting all the links relevant to your cause as people view the video.
Well, it's not my cause. It's the cause of every living human being on the face of this planet. You better wake up, because they're doing it in such a subtle way, people don't even realize it's happening to them.
Which is kind of my intention.
What's that?
It's kind of my intention. Like I did a video announcing this interview, and I basically told people, look, we've got people over here doing this, we got people over there doing that, but we all got to get together, get all of our messages out there, and work together to bring all these important points up in one centralized place, so that we can kind of, hey, look at all this information that's here for you, and you know, hopefully they'll have no choice but to listen.
Well, they have no choice. Otherwise, they're dead. I mean, the truth is, what they do is they keep America polarized. Whites against blacks. You know, Jews against Arabs. Red states against blue states. Republicans against Democrats. The truth is, both political parties are disgusting. They're both controlled by the banks. Neither one gives a rot about the people of this country. Neither party cares about the people of this country because they're both controlled by the banking interests. You understand? The Federal Reserve System controls both parties. It doesn't matter whether Hillary Clinton's in office or George Bush is in office. The same thing's going to happen. You're going to have the same war in Iraq, and it has to be stopped. And the fact is that the people of this country, if they don't wake up to what's really happening here and not be polarized, stop this polarization, that we're going to be finished. We have to all join together, whites, blacks, Spanish, everybody, join together and stop the banking interests from controlling the country. The motto of my movie is one people, one movement, freedom for all. The whole idea of life is to be a free person, to live the life you choose to live. We're all different, and we should all express our differences in the best way possible. Mm-hmm. That's what's good about life, that we're all different. That's the beauty of life. Otherwise, we're nothing but boring robots.
Like we were talking the other night, I want to get you to say it again about if Hillary's elected in 2008, we've been under how many years of a Bush and Clinton administration?
Oh, yeah. Imagine this. If Hillary Clinton became the president of the United States, that would mean for 25 years we've had nothing but Bushes and Clintons being the president of this country. Do you think that's all we got here? Why do you think that is? It's a farce. It's a joke.
I know. I've been thinking about that ever since you said it, and I'm like, wow.
The media doesn't tell you anything about what's going on in this country, folks. You know, you just lost the right to habeas corpus. Maybe you don't know what habeas corpus is. But that means they can have you arrested and put you away in jail for life without a trial today, without a lawyer. They can take you off the street and put you away. You have no more rights here.
They can sentence you to death.
They can sentence you. They can torture you.
Mm-hmm.
They can do whatever they want to you. There's no more justice in this country.
And a lot of those powers have been put specifically in the hands of the president.
A lot of those powers are. President. I mean, there's an executive order that says the president can take you from. Let's say you know, he can take you right where you are right now. You're in Georgia somewhere, mm-hmm. right? He can take you and say, listen, you know what? You have to go to work in Minnesota digging a ditch.
Yep.
You know, he can put you on a work brigade if he chooses to. If they declare martial law, they can do whatever they want to do. He doesn't even have to have a reason to declare martial law. Okay? I mean, you've lost habeas corpus. Do you see anything about it on the press? No. All you see in the press since they took away habeas corpus is this guy Mark Foley having, sending an email to some page about being a homosexual.
Yeah.
You know, for weeks it's all you've seen on the press, as if that's more important than the loss of your rights.
And I tell you what, in some of my videos, you know, I've done I think 4 videos now on the habeas corpus issue, which was the latest one to mention habeas corpus, but from the signing of the Uniform Code Act.
Right.
And I haven't touched on Foley because I don't even want to add to that. It doesn't affect what's going on here. It's besides the point.
Exactly. The press, that's all the press talks about, because they divert you from the real issues. Mm-hmm. The press is controlled, the media in this country is controlled by the Federal Reserve System, by the banks, and they let you know what they want you to know, and they give you tidbits. You understand? Mm-hmm. But the real main issues, they don't tell you about it. Did anybody tell you about the ID card, that you have to have an ID card by May 2008? Did you see that in the press anyway? No. No, you don't see that. You see them talking about the RFID chip? You know, only telling you how wonderful it is.
Interesting side note.
Let's get everybody chipped. We can identify who everybody is now.
That young fellow that had an experimental chip, you may have heard about this. His family had got him a couple of years ago. He died a couple of weeks ago in a motorcycle wreck. But that was one of the first experimental implants.
Chips, right.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. Don't accept the chip. Don't accept the national ID card. Go watch, I'm telling you, go watch this movie and wake up to what's happening to your country and to the world, and stop it.
Yeah,
stop it now.
Again, it must be stressed, like I told everybody, that you can see it for free. You know, you can go to Google video and look at it, and it is very, very alarming.
I keep putting down the phony version. You know, I keep putting it off of Google. The right one starts out with a quote by George Orwell: "In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act." That's the very first thing you'll see. You won't see anything before that. If you want the right version of the movie, see that quote first. If you see a logo from some company up there first, then you're on the wrong version of the movie. See the right version of the movie and check it out and get all the information. Or if you can go to my website, and if you want to see a better version, a higher resolution version, not better, but higher resolution, then go to my website and you can watch it down a pay-per-view for $5. It costs me money to post it there. I have to pay the company every time people watch it, so I have to charge for it. But it's a better version of it. You can watch it for free on Google, or you can get a DVD and have house parties. And go show it to people. Show it to everybody you know, folks. I'm telling you, this is for real. America is becoming a police slave state, and you better wake up to the truth of what's happening in this country.
We have a major Hollywood producer here that's made a movie, and he's telling you to share his movie. Take it and go and show people. This is revolutionary.
It is. And go watch it on Google for free. If you can't afford the $5 or you can't afford a DVD, go watch it for free on Google.
But that $5 will go towards a good cause.
Yes, it will. I promise you it will. The problem we have is a lot of young people don't pay any attention to politics. They don't pay any attention to what's happening to their country. And one day they're going to lose because of that. They're going to be trapped. It's time to start paying attention because we're in a crisis in this country. We are in a major crisis. And we need the youth of this country working together, whites and blacks and Jews and Christians and Spanish, and everybody stop being polarized and join together and join forces and shut down the Federal Reserve System. Every time you send out an email, put on that email, shut down the Federal Reserve System. Stop these private bankers from making the money of this country. We're going to do what Martin Luther King did. We're going to do what Gandhi did. We're going to have peaceful civil marches to shut down the system of how it's working today and restore American people to their freedoms that they once enjoyed here, and stop the government from controlling their lives and dictating how they live. The best action, the most effective action, would be to shut down the Federal Reserve System.
Yes.
If you shut down the Federal Reserve System, you're going to shut down that illegal tax on your labor. It's going to go away. You're going to protect. It'll help you protect the environment. These corporations won't get away with their nonsense anymore. You see, by shutting down the Federal Reserve System, you're going to bring America back to what it was intended to be when Thomas Jefferson and James Madison and Washington fought for this country and what they gave us. That's what you want to return this to. You want this country to stand up for the rights of the individual, not for the rights of the institutions.
Okay, now what about alternative money systems?
Well, what about the way it should work is you should have money that's sound money, where the government makes the money, and at the same time has it backed by something intrinsic like gold and silver, so the money has real value. Right now, the money we use in America, although you can buy things with it, and it's a medium of exchange, it's no more valuable than monopoly money. It's no different than monopoly money, except the government says you have to use it. If the government didn't tell you had to use a dollar bill to buy things, it was by law, nobody would use a dollar bill because it's just a piece of paper. It's not redeemable for anything. There's no value in it. It's just paper.
Yeah, we need to stress that a long time ago you could take your dollar and go get gold.
Exactly. At one time, your dollar, and for every $20 you had, you can get an ounce of gold. Exactly. That was the point. The paper was just a receipt for the money. The money was the gold, and the paper was just a receipt so you could get your gold. It was just more convenient. But now they've taken the receipt and said, "See, that's the money," and the bankers have taken the gold.
I got a video that's also on Google Video. I didn't do it. It's from the Carl Weiss Institute or something. You may have seen it. It goes over the history of money exchange, how it started, back in, far away in history, and how it began in other words, how inflation began. And, so they were taking and just writing, people would come in with their gold as a deposit, and they would get the receipts that could be exchanged here and there around Europe, but it's very comprehensive. The reason I mention it is because I'm going to put a link to that up as well, and it's about 45 minutes long. And it's kind of something you might have seen in high school. It's that same production quality, but To me, it was just as alarming as your movie. If you really look into it, because it's like, wow, it gives you a very comprehensive history on money, and it's really good. So yeah, I've just thrown it in that I'm going to put that link over there as well.
Well, the whole thing about money, what people should understand, is that money has to have intrinsic value. It has to be worth something. Money is not a digit. Money is not a piece of paper. Money is something that has real value. You understand? And that's why the bankers don't want you to have real gold, because they can't manufacture it out of thin air. It's only because they can manufacture the money out of thin air that they control everything. I hope that's clear. In other words, the reason in America between 1800 and 1910, a loaf of bread never changed in price. It was the same thing for 100 years. A house cost the same thing because there was no inflation. They weren't making money out of thin air. You see, now people can't save any money for the future because between interest rates, inflation of the currency, and income taxes, what I call the three evil eyes, all right, you can't survive anymore. You can't save money. You can't prepare for the future. And the income tax, the inflation, and the interest rates all go to the banks.
Right, and these things kind of contribute to higher home prices. People kind of pride themselves when they buy a house. Oh, I got such a deal, and in 10 years it'll be worth, so much more. But in reality, it's inflated money. So by that time, it's not really worth it. It's only relative.
Well, here's what you have to understand. Let's say you buy, let's say my father, okay, in 1955, which is really not that long ago, bought a house on Long Island, New York, for $27,000. All right, for $27,000. Recently, that same house sold for about $1.2 million. Now, it's the same house. The point I'm trying to say is that people think that house went up in value. No, what really happened, and what you have to understand is, it's the dollar went down in value. It takes more dollars to buy the same object. The dollar goes down in value. The candy bar isn't worth any more than before. It's the same candy bar. It has no more value than before.
Right. You hear this is worth in $1920 it's equivalent, but it's not like we're making more money. It has more value. It's just been inflated at that point.
They're just printing it out of thin air.
Yeah.
And so the more you print of something, the more of something you have, the less it becomes worth. And so people think that the dollar is... that's why people today can't afford to retire. They don't know how much money it takes to retire anymore. People are so scared and nervous about their futures because there's no sound money. There's no standard to go by anymore. There's no standards. And the reason that is because the banks control the money and they want to own you. They keep printing it out of thin air. And so you better wake up to what's really happening. It's like, think of Barry Bonds, the great baseball player. If he went up to the bat to play a game and if he didn't have a bat in his hand, he couldn't hit a home run. The bankers couldn't control us if they didn't have the Federal Reserve System and the way to make the money. It's their tool. The same way Barry Bonds' bat is his tool, the Federal Reserve System is the tool of the bankers to own us, to control us, because they do it through the money system. And that's what people have to realize, because people do anything for that money. Bill Clinton was doing the same thing with the wiretapping when he was in office, under a program called Echelon. He was wiretapping everybody's phones. That's not what America's about. The government has no right to tap your phones. You better wake up, folks. You better wake up. We're heading into slavery. We're heading into serfdom. And the young people of this country better wake up and stand up. Look, I'm 63 years old now. I've had a great life. I've been very blessed. You understand? This is not about me. This is about the future of the country and freedom of the individual. That's all this is about. This is about what our founding fathers fought for. Because the truth is that you can't be happy in this world unless you're free to be who you choose to be. And you're not going to have that option for very much longer. I'm telling you, folks, go to Google and watch the movie. Go watch the movie and you'll get it. Just go watch the movie on Google. I beg you, I urge you. Go to the website. You can see some of the trailers on my website to the movie. You'll be able to watch it on pay-per-view for $5 if you want to. Go watch it, man. It's your life. I can't thank you enough for doing this interview and letting your people know who watch your YouTube shows to let them know what's happening. This is what it takes. It takes everybody working together. It takes a synergy. It takes everybody who sees this to put out an email letting other people know where they can watch the movie. Letting people know about it.
Yeah, it's not about just watching entertainment or watching movies and that's shocking. So I'll just continue to do whatever it was I was doing before. It's like, and I'm kind of facing the same. Well, not necessarily the same problem. I got a lot of people that are very responsive and just vigilant, and they're ready to fight. And I'm like, but there's a lot of people who look at it as just interesting entertainment. But no. Wake up, I want to shake them sometimes. I'm like, yeah, it's interesting, but it's more than that. It's the truth, and you got to do something. You can do something, just like I'm doing something, just like Aaron's doing something. You can do something.
That depends on you doing nothing. There's a fellow named Edinburgh who said it very well. All it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. That's all it takes. Do nothing. Don't watch what's happening. Do nothing and they'll win. Just do not. I mean, you think it's easy to be free? For thousands of years on this planet, there was no freedom here. We got it in America because what our founding fathers gave us. They gave us a chance to be free, and we're blowing it. We're giving it back. We're losing it. What's happened in America was a very rare occurrence, but we had it for a while, and now we're losing it, and it's time to preserve it and get it back. And keep that alive, the idea of freedom alive for everybody, whites, blacks, Spanish, Jews, Arabs, doesn't matter what you are.
Well, what if that's what if that's just where society's going?
Well, it is going that way. It is going that way because we're not paying attention. But it doesn't have to go that way.
Well, I'm saying you can set up all these great things, just being devil's advocate. You set up all these great things, and it sounds good for a little while, but ultimately it just kind of goes back into certain people's hands.
Well, that's up to the people to decide whether they want that to happen or not. I mean, the truth is, this battle's been going on for years. If you look at, it's real interesting, if you look at all four presidents who were assassinated, McKinley, Garfield, Lincoln, and Kennedy, all four were against the Federal Reserve System. You think that's a coincidence? I don't. This has been a battle going on since the time of Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, even and I'm not a religious guy. In that sense, in terms of organized religion, I am a deep believer in God, but it even goes back to Jesus. Who did Jesus get angry against? The banks, right?
Yep.
Even he knows this battle with the banks has been. Look, I'm going to tell you a story. I was friends with one of the Rockefellers, and he came to my house one night and we were talking. He said to me, Aaron, what do you think the women's liberation movement was about? And I said, well, I think it was about women having a right to make as much money as men and having a right to work and be equal to men. And he looked at me and started laughing. He said, Aaron, you know what? You're an idiot. I said, why am I an idiot? What are you talking about? He said, you want me to tell you what that was about? I said, yeah, please tell me. We, the Rockefeller family and our foundation, supported women's lib, and we helped make it happen. And there were two reasons why. I said, what were the two reasons? So the first reason was, we couldn't tax half the population before women's lib. We couldn't tax them. And the second reason was, now with women's lib, we get the kids in the public schools real early, and we can indoctrinate them how to think. And we teach them to think that the state is the parent, to rely upon the state and the government, not on the family. And now both parents working, the parents can't take care of the kids anymore. So they look to us. We indoctrinate children at an early age. That's what women's lib was about. And it just blew my mind, because it was cloaked in such a noble thing about equal rights, and yet what was behind it was really evil. You understand? And that's how they think. But now, it's like the Social Security card. When Social Security first came in, it used to say right on the card itself, not to be used for identification. Because people back then never wanted ID cards. They wouldn't allow it in America. That's what they did in Nazi Germany. They wouldn't allow it in America. So the Social Security number was thought to be not to be used for identification. It was supposed to be this noble thing, so you have money when you retire. But does that say that on the Social Security card anymore? No, of course not. They get it started that way, then ultimately it ends up they take it away. It's like the frog in the pot theory. You take a frog and you throw it into a pot of boiling water, and it's going to jump right out. If you take the same frog and you put it into a pot of warm water, and you slowly turn the heat up, he sits there until he boils to death. And we're like the frog.
Yeah.
You see, they do it a little bit at a time, so you don't notice what's happening. You don't pay attention to what's happening. You see, and that's what it's about. And the Social Security is the greatest evidence of that. So you stay around the car. It can't be used for ID. Now, can you go anywhere without giving your Social Security number?
No.
No. It's your tag. It's your number.
Well, it's a valid form of identification now.
Right, exactly. Well, in America, you don't have to do it. All you need for identification is your name. I'm Aaron Russo.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I am. What else you want to know? After 9/11, did you see the government protect you by shutting down the border so terrorists couldn't get into the country? No. They tell you had to have an ID card. What that was about was them telling people we have to control you. And here's the reason why. We're fighting terrorists. Let me tell you something. The war on terrorism is the war on your freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That is the war on your freedom, folks. You know?
That's definitely something I can agree with.
You know, come on, what's happening here is beyond the pale. It's just unbelievable what's happening in this country and where it's heading. They don't care what the people want. You know, I mean, I don't know if your audience knows about SPP, if you've covered SPP or not. But the Security Prosperity Partnership of America,
no,
they're trying to incorporate America, Canada, and Mexico into one country by 2010.
Mm.
Okay, and
I don't think a lot of Canadians would be happy about that.
They're not. But the fact that they're doing it doesn't matter if they're happy about it. They don't care about it because they're controlled by the banks, and they have a new currency called the Amero they want to bring in.
Yeah.
Instead of the dollar, you can have the Amero, just like the euro. And I don't want to live. I don't want to live in the North American Union.
No.
You know, I don't want to live that way. And you see the people of America being told about it, or even being asked about it. No, there's only one person that's talking about it. Next to Dobbs on CNN. He's talking about it. He's the only one. He's the only one. You don't see NBC, ABC, CBS talking about this thing that changed the whole nature of our country. You don't see a word of it on television. But I think, I don't know what Lou Dobbs' agenda is, but he's telling the truth in this particular situation. The fact is that you have an agreement's been made between these three countries, and the people of America know nothing about it. Why? Why? Why isn't the press reporting it? And the answer is, it's real clear. The bankers don't want them to, because they know the people don't want it, and they're going to resist it. And they don't want to meet any resistance. You know? Wake up. And, just wake up.
Yeah. Wake up, wake up. I know, I've said that 1,000 times.
Stand up and fight back. Stand up for your rights. Don't allow them to turn you into a slave.
Yeah, and
don't stay ignorant.
People got to go and look for the information, because it's obviously not getting reported in the media. So they can get a lot of this information from your website. And as I move along, I'm going to be adding links and stuff like that, so that people can go educate yourselves.
Just watch the movie. You can watch it for free. Take the hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. And the movie's also funny. There's a lot of funny stuff in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Go watch the movie, and wake up to what's happening. I promise you, you're not going to regret it. And you can watch it for free. Go watch it on Google for free if you want.
And you're talking about how to get people to do stuff. I don't think it takes much more than that. I mean, if you educate people, or encourage them to even educate themselves, and they learn enough, I think they'll take the action on their own accord. So
do I. I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my website, the trails have been downloaded over 1.5 million times just recently. People waking up to what's happening if they can't get the information anywhere else. They're waking up, and people don't want it. You think people want this war in Iraq? This war in Afghanistan?
No.
Come on. But they're doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it in spite of what the people want.
Until 2010, the Defense Department announced that troops will be in Iraq until 2010.
We're going to be there forever. They want it to be part of the one world government. They're building the biggest military base ever in the history of the world in Baghdad now. They're spending billions and billions of dollars. They're never going to leave. They're never going to leave. It's a little bit at a time. They're never going to leave. Wake up to that. And our kids are going to die for these bankers. You see that quote by Henry Kissinger in the movie? Where he said, He said soldiers are just, how did he put it? He said soldiers are just tools to be used. He basically said soldiers are just mindless. He said soldiers are basically mindless idiots to be used to promote the New World Order.
Mm-hmm.
You know, come on. And then the quote by Robert Reich, who was in Clinton's administration, the dirty little secret is that America's domestic policy is now run by Alan Greenspan and the Federal Reserve, and America's foreign policy is run by the International Monetary Fund. Come on.
It speaks volumes.
What?
I said it speaks volumes.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much out there if you just take the time to look at it and wake up.
Yeah,
And,
it's definitely the most important thing. It's a lot more important than TV or what Katie Couric's wearing.
There's nothing. I promise you, there's nothing more important in this country right now than what we're talking about right here. This is it. This is the most important thing going on in this country right now. That's it. I don't know what more I can say than that. Just go watch the movie, and you'll wake up to everything.
Yeah.
Just go watch the movie, folks. Go to the website. There's a link to Google on my website to the video. You know, go watch. It's being set up today. You just go to my website, freedomtofascism.com. There's a link to the proper video on Google. Go watch the movie for free. And go watch it, and then see what you say when it's done. And tell everybody else you know to go watch it. Well, this is it. There's nothing more important in my life. You know, there really isn't. And the founding fathers fought for something to give us freedom. We now, you know, and we have to fight to get it back because it's going away so quickly. And I'm just trying to do what's righteous. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to do the right thing, and nothing more than that. Wake up. I've been in bed with these people. I know these people. I know you are, and that's why we're doing this interview. I know you're with me, and I know that there are millions of people around America who are. But what people don't know is the media won't talk about this.
No.
The media knows this, and they won't talk about it. And that's the problem we face. And nobody knows what's going on out there. That's why the Internet is so important. That's why it's so important. And the people listening, just spread the word. Get it out there. And let's organize. And let's have civil disobedience. And let's do what Gandhi did and what Martin Luther King did. Let's get it back. Let's stand up for our rights and our freedoms. That's it.
Absolutely.
There's nothing I won't do to win this battle. I'll take the bullet if I have to. That's okay. Yeah,
and you know what? A lot of my responses, I've gotten emails from people that say, you know, I'm willing to die for any cause and stand next to you. And I tell them, you know, me too. Because what more noble a life can you live by other than fighting for a just cause?
Exactly. Noble, honor, integrity. Mm-hmm. That's it. Stand up for it. Take control. Join. Let's all join together and have this battle and win this battle because we can. Because if we don't cooperate, they can't do anything. It's in our hands.
And anybody out there who hasn't seen Gandhi, go get the movie Gandhi. Watch that. Watch what he did. Civil disobedience. He destroyed the British involvement in India.
That's right. Exactly. Civil disobedience.
Look up Martin Luther King. Look what he did. The bus boycotts in Montgomery.
That's right.
You know, just shut down a city just because no one rode the bus.
And so, I tell you, I have nothing more to tell you except what I've said. God bless you, everybody out there. Blessings to everybody. Stand up. Go watch the movie. And let's stand shoulder to shoulder and stop it.
Absolutely. We're brothers.
Thank you, John. I'm your brother, too. We're all brothers together, and really, just do it, folks. Just stand up and do it.
It was great fun. We ended up talking about another hour about things. We've all made a friend here. His name is Aaron Russo, and he is fighting next to us. Next up, I've scored an interview with George W. Bush. Just kidding. I'll get back to my commentaries for a while here, but as suggested, I'm actually going to try and contact Alex Jones and see if he would be interested in getting involved here. For those of you who wanted to get this video featured, of course, save it to your favorites, rate high, refresh the page a few times, I don't know. Anyway, thanks for listening, and thank you for all the kind and supportive emails. I'll be working on the particulars of the organization this week, so stay tuned. Do not feel that international friends are excluded. We will need the support of the entire world to change the world's superpower. I want to thank Aaron, Ilona, and Toby for making this happen. Peace be upon you.